Welcome tonight, you guys. I'm Vulture Culture, and this is Leviasynth. I have been so excited to share this synthesizer with you guys, and it's been an honor to be part of the sound design team. The thing about this synthesizer is it is incredibly deep, incredibly intimidating, and I think a lot of people are wondering about what it's like to actually make sounds on it. Because there's a lot of reviews out right now, including my own, that sort of list all of the specs and features that the synth has. But that's not really as important as actually being able to make sounds with it, you know? I love a good purple. So the thing is, tonight's live stream, I'm going to show you just that. I'm going to make it so easy to understand how Leviasynth works. And I think tomorrow, some of you guys are going to be seeing it at NAMM. Really excited to be able to share this with you guys early. So why should I be able to show you anything? Well, I designed some of the factory patches, so I know at least a little bit about it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into a, here we go, and turn this off and jump right on into an Init patch and get going. So what we're going to do is we'll do like kind of a virtual analog type thing, even though this does have an incredible 4-pole analog filter built in, and then we'll do some sort of Prophet VS, wave station, wave sequencing type stuff, because each of these 8 oscillators has its own envelope, so you can actually, you know, create your own whatever you need to do, right? Which is super crazy, super neat. And then we'll get into the FM stuff, and specifically algorithm morphing, because that's really the new feature that I'm not aware of any other synths being able to do. And I'll show you how it works, it's intimidating. You could screw it up. Not that anything's ever really wrong, you know, go ahead and break the rules, but it can be a little hard. So I've come up with a couple of methods to try to make it possible to make it easier. So we're going to start, and when you pull up an Init patch, you're going to hear this. Just a sine wave, right? This camera's a little blown out. It just has to do with the lighting in the studio to try to balance the camera and everything. So let's start by doing just like a really simple PWM bassline type sound. So the way we would go about doing that, let's first pick a waveform. We have over 300 different wavetables in this synthesizer. It takes quite a lot of scrolling just to get anywhere in here because there's so much. So I'm going to pick one of these that's not quite... I think we'll just go with the square for this example. Here we go. So square wave, right? And then oscillator 2, I want to have be a square wave as well. The easier way to do this is actually to go to the wave page. So we have these oscillator group edits that lets you see everything. So we've got the different waves, the different modes the synth can be in, or each oscillator can be in, the pitch of each oscillator, the fine pitch of each oscillator, the feedback amount, which is useful for being able to create noisy type things as well as brighter stuff. Not that I'm aware of, Trader to the Living, that might be something that comes later on. Level, delay attack, hold, decay, sustain, release. You could see that for all 8 oscillators at the same time. So you can see it like sustain, for instance. We have kind of like a square here for everything. 40 Thieves, welcome, my friend. Harmonics, Sonics, we got so many incredible people here already. So can I get a scum cheers in the chat? Cheers, guys. So, if I go to wave here and I hold save, everything turns green that you can copy. I'm going to hit square, and then when I click over, you'll see that I've pasted square onto each of those, which is easier than going through and manually selecting the same waveform on each one. So that's like a pretty good hack real quick. There are loopable envelopes. Yes, that's right. I'm going to show that in a bit here. Cheers, guys. I appreciate it. So we've got a square wave. Now there's 3 ways to make this a little bit more lively, because as it starts, If I bring up the second square wave here, you'll notice nothing's really happened because it's so in tune. And then if I detune it, you'll notice that it's that kind of phase lock digital thing. So first off, we can go to voice and we can increase the analog feel, and that's going to give us some variation between each note. And then if we continue on here, we have random phase too. So we can turn that on, and that also gives you a random phase per voice. And then most importantly, on the third page of the oscillators here, I'm going to go fast tonight, guys, but that's because right now, not many people have a Leviasynth, but soon they will. So this will be useful for people who own the synth. You can turn freerun on. So that's going to add that phase difference here. And then if I hold shift, that allows me to go to whatever page I'm on for the next oscillator. So I could turn that on there instead of having to press oscillator 2 3 times to get to that same page. Does that make sense? Is everybody following so far? So now when I go to oscillator 2's tune, which you can either get to from the oscillator page or from the group edit page, you could hear that we have a much more analog sounding phase relationship going on in there. For now though, I'm actually going to turn the initial level all the way down. We're just going to use one of these oscillators. Now we can go into algorithm edit and we can pick different algorithms to use, right? And it comes with something like 140 or so different algorithms in here, and they're all great. However, I actually found the easiest way to work on this is to go to custom algorithm. This is after I had designed about half the patches I submitted to the synth. I realized it's just easier to do a custom algorithm every time unless you're doing algorithm morphing, which we'll get to later. So here I can simply turn oscillator 2 off by hitting that little, I know it's hard to see because the screen's blown out a little bit, but I've just turned it off there. And then by pressing the modulator, it's just a mod matrix, right? From the modulator and carrier. So I've muted oscillator 2, and now it's modulating oscillator 1. If I go to oscillator 2 and I change the mode to pulse width modulation, now I have some interesting beating there because of the detune, but as I increase this now, so I still have some interesting beating in there, and that's because as you add more of that analog feel to the synth, yeah, sometimes you get weird relationships between the PWM. So now we've got some really good pulse width modulation. Let's go ahead. Now the way it's controlled is by the level, and I could either use the initial level or the envelope level. We'll get into that later. For now, I'm going to just select LFO 1, hold it, and press oscillator 2, and it automatically routes it to oscillator 2's initial level. And now I can kind of play with the amount of that. Aquatic Borealis, how's it going? I still haven't tried a Hydrasynth. That is kind of the ironic thing about it. So we've created some basic pulse width modulation here. Should be able to see it on the oscilloscope there. Let's bring in oscillator 3 down a semitone and bring that in as a sub oscillator. And then let's just see how it sounds as we increase the analog feel. Too much of it, again, because you're now detuning that modulator carrier relationship. That can actually throw it off a bit. So another way we could do this is just by detuning the sub oscillator a bit. To get this beautiful meaty sound to it. So on the right hand side here, you'll see how there's these little dotted lines here. So we've got envelope 1. It's probably hard to see it on the screen. Envelope 1, little dots to digital filter, little dots to LFO 1. So what's happening here is if I hit the digital filter here, I can see that envelope 1 is automatically routed to the digital filter. And on page 2, LFO 1 is automatically routed to the digital filter. Now, you don't have to use that routing, but it's there basically as a way to give you a little jump start, right? And the same thing, envelope 2 and LFO 2 are routed to the analog filter, 3 to the VCA, 4 and 4 to the pre-effects, 5 and 5. Oh, I'm sorry, not to the pre-effects. Then we have our effects section over here. So let's go into the filter. Synth Samurai, how's it going, my friend? Let's increase the resonance. Now, the most important feature on this synthesizer, in my opinion, if we look at the gain staging here, and again, I apologize for the somewhat blown out screen here. We've got control over everything. We've got the oscillator level, the digital filter level, most importantly, the pre-drive, the VCA level, which is analog, and the patch level, which is just there sort of to balance things out. And we have LFO 3, which is pre-routed again to the amplifier. So if we want to do amplitude modulation, here's where you can do it. Velocity to envelope. We've got poly aftertouch and initial level. So all of this can be used, modulated, etc., etc. What we need to do though is bring in that pre-drive, because the difference between so many modern synths and this synth is we can push the filter harder like a vintage synth. Now you'll notice that if I bring that all the way down, the resonance has a much stronger character to it. And as I bring the pre-drive up, not only do we get level and saturation, but it also tames the resonance. So let's push the resonance. Incredible amount of bass is still coming through. Billy Barcody, I would say that they did a great job. Some other people have said this is like the successor to the Hydrasynth, and I don't think so at all. I think this is very much its own thing. It could do some Hydrasynth type stuff, but they are different, and especially because of this analog filter. But not just that, it's not a Hydrasynth with an analog filter. It's very much this algorithmic synth thing. Completely characterful and unique compared to every other filter I've heard. So let's add some release. Add some release to the filter. And what's great is we've got cutoff resonance, pre-drive, and envelope 2 here. These are touch sensitive too, which is nice. right around here with the pre-drive all the way up. Okay, so that's pretty badass sounding. What if we took here we have our second oscillator is our carrier. Remember, if I go in and show you, I don't know how well you can see it on the screen, but oscillator 2 is muted. We can't hear it, but it's modulating oscillator 1, right? So if we go into oscillator 2 and we change the semitones, we're going to start getting different types of pulse width modulation than are possible on any other synthesizer, right? And that's really with what everyone's talking about in the chat about how this is like kind of takes a cue from FM synthesis. It can do FM synthesis, but then we're also kind of talking about pulse width modulation, but informed by FM synthesis. Like, what if pulse width modulation could be matrix modulator carrier and related, and so that we can get these unique tones. We can take it down an octave. So this is a really good example of how something as simple as doing pulse width modulation, something we take for granted on most of our analog synths, but now doing pulse width modulation with a modulator that's 2 octaves down, completely different sound than anything I've heard before. So let's go into, let's see here. Where am I looking for? We got Oscillator Stereo. And let's go check that out. So hopefully I hope you guys are listening with either really good speakers or headphones. So here's without Oscillator Stereo. And here's with it. So that's like crazy. So what that did was it took we have 8 oscillators times 16 voices, right? 16 analog filters. And when you put it into stereo mode, what it's doing is it takes half of those filters and puts it on the left, and half of those filters, it puts it on the right. How's it going, Tone Pusher? Cheers to my friend Tone Pusher, the real industrial historian. I appreciate you so much. And we have control over the detune if we want. Let's take this further, because this is something I don't think people have really shown off. Now that we're in stereo mode, we have something else going on, which is this oscillator, I think that was page 5. Yeah, 5, now has a pan, right? Now, we can't hear this. This is the modulator that is modulating the pulse width of oscillator 1. So if it has a pan, what's that going to do? Well, let's just try it out. So I'm going to take LFO 2, route it to oscillator 2 here, and then I'm just going to pick pan. It's one of our mod destinations. I'm going to set it to, let's go with like maybe our total, we can go up to 128. So let's go with like 32. So it's not like freaking crazy. And then back to oscillator 2 here, page 5. And let's just set the panning a little to the, let's see what happens. And we'll be able to hear this better if I turn the carrier detune down. Now that pulse width modulation is stereo, right? So as one side goes forward, the other's coming back. Now, if we go, let's go into the VCA, add some release, take some... add some attack, and then... basically the beefiest sound ever. Of course, we do have the incredible poly aftertouch keybed. So some people have said this is the same keybed from the Hydrasynth, but I believe it's been redesigned to be even better. Which is, you know, kind of everything about the synth feels that way. Like I said earlier, I've never owned a Hydrasynth or even touched one with my naked fingertips. So I can't say, but what I can promise you is it does not feel more premium than this synth does. Everything about the synth, the construction, the knobs, everything feels as awesome as it could. So I bet Hydrasynth Deluxe is really great, probably just as good, but it can't be more premium than this because of how great everything is. Okay, so that was the easy patch. Let's get deeper. So one thing that I love about this synth is it can really do those Prophet VS type sounds, those hybrid sounds that I love so much. So what we're going to do is go to Oscillator 1 and turn the initial level all the way down, and then go to the level page. We actually have different pages for initial and envelope level. Let's turn envelope level all the way up. Save as our copy paste to 2, 3, and 4. We're going to do a 4 oscillator wave sequence. You could do it with all 8. I did it on my patch Roll the Hard 6, which is in Leviasynth. You can hear it in my demo video. Tomorrow I'm going to have a video up on the channel with all the best pads. But what we're doing is, instead of using the initial level, which is better for like virtual analog style stuff, using the envelope level is better for anything where you want each oscillator to have its own thing going on. Whether that's more in like the DX7 FM territory, or in this case, I'm going to use it to do some sort of wave sequencing type stuff. So let's go to the wave page. And right now we should hear everything. Go to mute page and mute all the oscillators we're not using. So now I'm hearing oscillator 1. Let's go pick a really interesting waveform. And we actually have waveforms from Chris Meyer, I believe. It says Chris Meyer. Yeah, pretty sure that's him. And if you all know your synth history, you would know that he worked on the Prophet VS. And these waveforms kind of have that flavor, right? I hope I'm getting this right. So let's use this Vowel-y one to start with. I'm going to copy and paste that over. Level, I'm going to unmute oscillator 2 now. Back to the wave page and pick a different one. And what I'm going to do is go to the pitch page and change the semitone up 7 for oscillator 2. Right? Level page 3. Again, I'm going fast, but it's only because there's so much to do. After I've kind of gone through how to do like the algorithm morphing everything, I'm going to take viewer requests for questions, but especially sound design, like what patches you'd like to see if Leviasynth can do. So oscillator 3, back to the wave page. Nice little bell tone. This one's Scorpio 4. And why don't we go to the pitch of that and bring that up an octave. And then we'll mute that one and go to oscillator 4 and use Chris Meyer 1. So now we have 4 different waves, right? So this is wave sequencing, right? Welcome everybody who's here right now. I need a little sip. So can I get a scum cheers in the chat? Okay. So I'll start with oscillator 1. We have on our second page here, we have the individual oscillator. I can unmute it. And let me just check my mutes real quick. There we go. So we're on oscillator 1, page 2. And we can add attack, decay, sustain, release. Let's turn BPM sync on. And now our attack, decay, sustain, release levels are all BPM sync, if that's the right way to say it. So I'm going to set it to a quarter note. We could set it to many different values. You probably can't see on the screen, but we've got dotted, triplets, all sorts of stuff. And it can go all the way out to 64 feet, which I think is 64 beats, I want to say. I'm not the best with notation math. And I'm going to add a release of fourth note as well. So even the release and things like that can be controlled there. All right. Sustains at 0 because I want it to fade in and then fade out, right? Very basic stuff right now. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's go to the sustain page. Now I can copy the sustain from oscillator 1 to the other 4. Again, I just want to highlight, I've done wave sequencing with all 8 oscillators in my patches. It's just going to take longer. So I decided that the best way to demo this is just to do a 4-wave sequence. So we now have 0 sustain on all of them. I can do that quarter note release. It says inconsistent BPM status, copy failed. So this is a good learning lesson. If I go to oscillator 2, the envelope here, I've got BPM sync here. I'm going to turn that on. But more importantly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift over here. And when I go to oscillator 3, it now takes us to page 2, right? So instead of me selecting, when I select an oscillator, it takes me to page 1. But if I've hold shift when I select an oscillator, it jumps us to the page we need to be on. So now I can turn BPM sync on for 3 and 4. Going back to decay, I can copy that 4th value, each one of them. Release can become, I have to copy 1/4. Now all of them have a 4th there. Now, if I go to attack, oscillator 1, I want 0 attack because I just want it to kick right in. Oscillator 2, I can set to a 4th. I'm going to copy that to 3 and 4. The delay now is a 0 on 1, right? We want it to hit in right away. We don't need any delay on oscillator 2, right? Because it's going to fade in naturally. But oscillators 3 and 4, we do need some delay on. So I'm going to have a 4th note delay there. I might need more. And then I'm going to copy and paste that over. And let's go to the mutes, turn the mutes off of oscillators 2, 3, and 4 and see what we get. I might need, and you could see it dance here. So I do think I want to put a little delay on 2 here. So let's add a 4th note. And we'll make that a half, and then we'll make that a half dot. There we go. That's a nice little little wave sequence, right? And we might want to adjust that. So what's interesting here, oh, set that back to where it was. There we go. What have I done? I've lost control. There we are. Let's increase the decay on that first one here. I think because of the attack there, we can also bring the delay back a little in oscillator 2 and increase the decay on oscillator 2 to a half. There we go. It's kind of feeling better in there. Now you might notice that there's no, even though we've added release to the sounds, when I take my hands off the keys, nothing's happened. And that's because it's being gated by the analog VCA. So we just need to add some release to that. And now we have release. We don't need a lot, really. Now, oscillator 5, I'm going to make just a square wave and bring it down an octave and basically just use it as, you know, a good old fashioned sub-oscillator. Or we could even use the envelope level so we can give it maybe a little bit of attack. Right? And so we've got some problems. Okay, oscillator 4. But we have a bit of a static thing, right? Like it's just kind of like we've got our little wave sequence, but then it kind of just stalls there, right? Which sounds fine, whatever. But why don't we take it further? So we're going to go into that algorithm edit, custom algorithm edit. We're going to turn oscillator 6 off, and we're going to route oscillator 6 to all of our oscillators, all 5 of the oscillators we're using currently. We're going to put oscillator 6 into pulse width modulation mode again. And now what we have is pulse width modulation on all 5 of our oscillators. So we can do the same trick we did before. I'm going to leave the initial level down and take LFO1, route it to our oscillator 6 and bring that up a bit. Actually, what I'm going to do is bring up the initial level a bit. So that we have less of a static sound. Let's go to LFO1 and bring the rate down. I just want a little of that. And another thing we could do, let's go to voice mode and turn vintage digital mode on. And what that does is it avoids all anti-aliasing to give us more of that vintage digital crunch that I love so much from those old digital synths. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like it's already giving me some of that Prophet VS sound. So, of course, now what we need to do is bring in the pre-drive. So giving it that hot, you know, vibe that the Prophet VS was just crazy hot, that synth. We need to give it the space. Again, we haven't even used the binaural mode yet. Let's add some delay. I'm going to just go with a basic pan delay. I'm going to turn BPM-sync on. I'm going to set the time to, I like doing a quarter dot note. 1/8 is fine, but let's just see. Envelope 2, let's add some release to the analog filter. I'm going to go with 2 seconds or so, bring the sustain all the way down, attack, decay, up. We could, for what it's worth, put this into BPM-sync mode and then actually do this all, you know, to tempo. I mean, for the hell of it, why don't we do that? Why don't we do like a full note up and down and see what it sounds like? Here's the magic. there's no oscillator beating yet, so we just need to go into voice mode. And then again, turn Oscillator Stereo on and prepare your genitals. We could take LFO 2 and modulate the pan of oscillator 1. And we'll just put it up to like 32. If I hold shift, I can get finer values. Then what's interesting is I can again copy this to mod slot 3 and then just pick oscillator 2. And then I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to move to page 4, the next page, and pick mod slot 4 and 5. And I'm just going to move that to 3 and 4. And now LFO 2 is modulating the pan of everything but the sub oscillator. The amounts here. Let's see. Can I copy and paste it? No. So here's what's interesting is when you go to save, this is good. When I hit save here, it'll highlight what you can and can't copy and paste manually. And come on, baby. It's hard to get. I want to get it to exactly 32 because I'm a freak like that. But you really don't have to worry about it too much, and then get it right in there. So we should now, I think I have created panning for all of those oscillators. Let's take it up to 64 on all of them. They sound so good. Why not? 64-ish for the sake of the stream. I can do both at the same time. Let's turn this into more of a pluck. Let's do it live. So I'll add some reverb to it. I quite like the cloud mode. There's 100% cloud. I'm only using the analog filter. This has a perfectly awesome digital filter. For instance, it defaults to high pass mode, which is nice. So yes, if we go to the digital filter, we can check the different modes. We have different, it's defaults to a morphing low pass, band pass, high pass filter. It can also be a low pass notch high pass filter. Then we have the MS-20 stuff, ladder filters. Let's see here, a vowel filter. I don't see if we have a comb filter, which I think would be useful for more like physical modeling type stuff. What I will say is that the analog filter is so, I would use it if either the sound just got so thick that I had to mess with it a bit, or you know, if I want to do something like notchy or bandpassy, for sure. I mean, what a sound, right? We could, of course, add more distortion to it if we wanted. So that's going to be on top of the whole signal. So we just want those extra harmonics. So I'll go ahead and save that patch for Billy Bar Cody. So I think it's probably great. It's just that the analog filter is so great that I never felt the temptation to use it, except for more exotic stuff, just because of that. Now I'm not going to worry about setting up macros or naming anything or something like that. So we can discard that sound, and we're going to go into back to a sine wave. So now I want to talk about wave morphing real quick. I'm going to try to do it as quickly. I'm sure they are adapt. I mean, I did check them out when I was doing the sound design for this. I just, it's just so juicy. I mean, I'm just promising you guys the difference. I could show you real quick if we just go with like a sawtooth wave. Right? Let's just add some resonance. Listen to the quality. Let's go to the digital filter and let's put it into MS-20 mode. I'm going to turn the cutoff all the way up and resonance down on the analog filter. Oh, not a high pass. I want a low pass. Low pass. Where's the MS-20? You can simulate a comb filter with phase shifting a zero frequency modulator in the middle of a 3+ high oscillator stack with long loop feedback, though. I'm going to have to trust you on that one. Versus I mean, it's not bad, right? I guess I would just say, like, make up your own mind. Without a doubt, the digital filter can get crazy with the resonance. I mean, I'm just going to say all day long, every day, the analog filter sounds better to my ear. What do you mean by independent clocks? So each LFO can have its own phase, its own BPM sync. It can be used as a one-shot. Trigger sync can be polyphonic, single, or off. If you want it just to be free running, right? It's got a delay and a fade in for each one, and it can be quantized. So that I think if I understand your question, yes, it can. So it's your choice with that. Anyways, let's talk about, excuse me, FM. So FM's terrifying to everybody most of the time, right? But it need not be. Let's go in, and what we're going to do is we're going to set the envelope level up on our first 4 oscillators. That's feedback. I don't want that. Go back. Feedback's cool, but not for this very simple example. So with oscillators 1, 2, 3, and 4, all the way up. Oh, and I need to change the wave here and just make that a sine wave. all we really have is a louder sine wave, right? Because they're all phase locked currently. 144 algorithms. So when it comes to algorithm morphing, which is the cool thing in this, we could pick an algorithm, and I'm going to pick, I was checking this out beforehand. Algorithm 32 is useful. No, it's not. That's not the one I was looking for. Here we go. 36 is useful. And if you look over here, you'll see that it's because oscillator 5 is modulating oscillator 1, 6 to 2, 7 to 3, 8 to 4, right? So very simple to get your head around. So starting with different times with each note on a summit. The FM is as good as it gets. And it's not that bad. So what we're going to do is, if we go to mode, you can see everything's in phase mod by default. We do have frequency mod, which the original DX7 was phase mod. So even though they say it's an FM synth, it's really a PM. It's a phase mod synth because it was cheaper back then to make a, you didn't need as strong as a processor to do a phase mod synth. We don't need to get into that. So by increasing the envelope level of oscillator 5, which is modulating oscillator 1, we can hear that. 6, bring that in. Now that's only, 6 is only modulating oscillator 2. So we're just, it's not modulating anything else. Oscillator 7 to 3. 8 to 4. So now we have this sort of typical 2 operator, cheap Yamaha FM sound. Which I think we're all familiar with, right? Great sound, but it's very static. Obviously, all of these oscillators have envelopes. I kind of just showed that off. So we're going to ignore the envelopes entirely right now. Just forget about them. We're going to go to pitch page 2, which changes the pitch mode of all of our oscillators. It's currently on semitone. I'm going to set it to ratio. And what that is more useful for doing is the typical FM type stuff. We also have frequency, which allows you to sort of disconnect the pitch of an oscillator from the key bed and just make it do whatever you want it to do, which is better for more ring modulatory type sounds. Hopefully you guys could still hear me. Can everybody still hear me? Hopefully it's okay. I just noticed I did have a dip. Hopefully, let me know, guys, if there's anything wrong. Let me just double check my internet settings here real quick. Should be good. Just lost all audio. Go ahead and try reloading real quick, because I think it's still coming out. Excuse me. While we're waiting, can I get a scum cheers? Hopefully that's just because so many people are watching this live stream. Hopefully that's not too much of a problem. So this is what we have, just a basic sound. Now, back to pitch. We can play now with the ratios of each of these. So why don't we just do that with the modulators and not the carriers. So I've set them to 4, 6, 8, and 12. So we're kind of getting more of like a bell type sound to it. And again, without any envelope movement, it's going to sound not really great because you need that movement for FM. But that's not the point of this example. The point, now if we mess with the carrier ratios, we can get some really interesting stuff. So again, more of a complex FM tone. This will all make sense in a second. So we kind of have like some somewhat random values here that we're using, which is as good a time as any to talk about the random button. If I hold this down and press one of these, I think I could get, random values onto every single one of these. So now we're hearing random, but it's still quantized to these ratios. So this one's 15, this one's 12, this one's 18, this one's 26. Actually kind of sounds like an E-piano now. Banana Rider, no, not quite 2 years, but quite a bit, actually. So the point here is not to show you FM, because what we're going to do is go to algorithm edit, and now we're looking at algorithm 36. If I go to change the mode to morph, now it'll show in the lower left-hand side, algo morph 1, meaning we are on algorithm 1, which is the same, I don't know if you can see those little dots, but it's the same dot configuration from before. So we're still on algorithm 1, which is 36. So this is like the mutants, right? Instead of mutating waveforms, we're mutating the algorithms, the FM algorithms, right? So if we move algo morph, you can see how it's morphing between each of those algorithms. But the problem is that sometimes you get a really nasty, noisy combination, because what that's doing is, you know, when we go to, if I go exit here and we go, how do I get to just single again? There we go. Single. What it's basically doing is it's crossfading in between all of these different potential ways that the modulator look at how crazy that shit is. You know, that all of these different modulator carrier relationships. I mean, it just keeps going. The insanity. It's a beautiful thing to behold. So going back to 36 again, because that was a nice stable one. Let's go to 36. All right. And then mode more, right? Now, if we put it into custom mode, which is what I use for most sounds, it actually pulls up what's going on with 36. So maybe you start with 36 as a starting point or whatever algorithm you want. And then you're like, I wish that Oscillator 5 we can edit it, which is a nice feature. So let's algorithm morph from the first algorithm to the second. Now that sounds amazing because it's a similarly simple algorithm. Let's move to the third algorithm. Now you'll notice how that one, there was a lot of noise in the transition. So what we want to do is go to algorithm list edit, and then we can change this algorithm. Till it's something that we like. I really like that shrieking high harmonic there. Then we go exit, and we can morph to algorithm 4. And actually that one's pretty good, but for the sake of it, let's go ahead and change it. The more modulators are modulating, not carriers, but modulators, the more you're likely to run into this noisy situation. So I don't know if you could see that on the camera, but that's basically a leaning tower of Pisa of modulation, and that's why it's so noisy. That one's pretty nice. Algorithm 21. So we got set algorithm morph. Sorry for the coughing, guys. To 2.5, right? Because we're morphing from 1 to 4. What's halfway between that? So we've got basically 3 stops. And so half of 3 is 1.5. Algorithm 1 plus 1.5 is 2.5. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to take LFO 1, and now we're going to, instead of hitting like an oscillator or something, we're going to hit algo edit. And that actually brings us to the page, and we can now set algorithm morph as a modulation destination. So you can control algorithm morph with polyphonic aftertouch. And in fact, why don't we just do that real quick? Fuck it. Let's go to polyphonic aftertouch, and then depth, and then just increase it. And but of course, for this example, just to keep it like not insane, let's just go with the LFO. But I just wanted you guys to know that that's a thing. We also have LFO positive, right? So we could just do that, but I'm using a bitimbral LFO, or not a bitimbral. It goes up and down instead of just up. Let's actually, you know what? I do want to use it. Let's take the morph all the way to 1 and then back to the mod matrix. So what we've now done, right, we've sort of created these really complex wavetables from algorithm morphing, but it's not a different wavetable. In fact, you know, just to remind everybody, if we look at the waves here, they're all fucking sine waves. Exactly, Ed from Earth, which by the way, cheers, my friend. How are you doing? It's good to see you. So that's really the trick with algorithm morphing. And again, I only did 4 algorithms. You could morph 8, but for the sake of this live stream, we'd just be here longer if I was doing that. The trick is that you can, you know, you want to pick the less noisy ones because it's very easy to do. And there's not even any feedback going on, which, you know, feedback, real quick, just to demonstrate that if you're not familiar with FM at all, that's how we can. It's actually very cool. What's happening with that solo oscillator there. So anyways, wow, just. And if we play it up higher, it's less of a dubstep-y thing and more of like a PPG wave type thing. Actually want to get a little bit more crazy with it, so why don't we pick some crazier algorithms? Sorry, not wavetables, algorithms. That's very nice. Well, I've started the stream off Passive House with the more analog side of things. I just wanted to get in there. Does it have motion EGs, parameter modulation, automation? Okay, so off camera here, I've deliberately left the arpeggiator and sequencer control off camera because that's giant. And it's polyphonic, it's got multiple tracks, and it can be used as a modulation source. So there's certain synthesizers where you can write in automation just with your hand or something like that while you're recording. I don't know if that's how this works, to be honest with you. I haven't dug into the sequencer enough. I think fans of this channel will know that I kind of avoid sequencers like the plague. They're just not for me. I'm going to do one more thing real quick here that I want you guys to experience before we jump in to anything else. Let's go to the oscillators and let's turn the sustain down and the decay to like pretty good, like 4 seconds, and release to like 4 seconds. Now this is oscillator 5. This is a modulator, so we're not hearing it. We're just hearing its effect on oscillator 1. Now I'm going to go into the decay section and just copy and paste that come on, copy a difference. And then same thing with release. We're going to just copy and paste that. So now, excuse me. Actually, I should copy that release to everything just for the hell of it. So now it's going to decay from that modulated sound to less of a modulated sound. Playing weird chords all of a sudden. So you'll notice that it got darker because there's less modulator interaction occurring. And the reason I brought that up is, let's say we want to slow that down. We have these oscillator envelope levels bias. And what this is so great for is, let's say we were like, let's say that I was a little fast. We can actually just slow that down. And we can add attack to it, to every single envelope. So all of our attack levels are still at 0, but if I go back here, you can see that we have about 88 milliseconds that it's biased all of those envelope levels. So this is really great for fine tuning. Let's go to LFO1 now and slow that down. So now we've got a very beautiful sound, and we haven't even touched the analog filter. Oscillator Stereo on. In. So yeah, also doing a lot with a little. I mean, generally speaking with FM, I would say like we have to use these envelopes more, but really in this example, we really did it. It's all about what's happening with this algorithm morphing. So I'll go ahead and save this one too, for the hell of it. And then let's go ahead and go on to some viewer requests. So do you guys have any questions? And do you guys have any patches you'd like to see if are possible with a synthesizer of this caliber? I've been speaking a lot, so I need to have a sip. And I would just like to give a shout out to the incredible synthesizer community. I just appreciate you guys so much. And a huge shout out to everybody at ASM for giving me the honor of being part of the sound design team. I really appreciate it, you guys. Cheers. Okay. Yeah, does anybody have anything they'd like to... Oh, I just noticed that my chat is like way off. Johnny, I was talking about it, and I think the real answer to your question is just that, just to listen to the sound of it, because it's its own thing. It really is its own thing. My chat was like way behind. I'm so sorry. Chris Farrell, I did submit some additional patches on so they might come out in the future. I don't know. Yes, I did name it after Admiral Adama from Battlestar Galactica. In fact, several of my patches are Battlestar Galactica inspired. Arelon Falls. Arelon is one of the colonies from Battlestar Galactica. Can you also control how it morphs? So yeah, like in that previous example here, let's see, hopefully it's the same. If I go to the LFO, I'm going to turn the delay down for now, and the reverb should be fine. Yeah, it's good, whatever. If we go to LFO 1, we could change the waveform to say a saw down, and now we should get more of a plucky thing. Which, of course, could be BPM-sync. So why don't we just go ahead and do that real quick. BPM-sync on. And now we can set the rate. So now it's morphing it that way. I don't know if I'm answering your question, by the way, Brett. Let's just turn the time down a bit. It gets kind of crazy. Can it do OB6 like broken LP patch? Sorry, what's a broken LP patch? I don't know it off the top of my head. Does it have a warm mode? Not that I'm aware of. It has a vintage digital mode, which makes it arguably colder, but in the best way possible. Yeah. Johnny, if the way you define a ladder filter is that it loses a lot of bass as you crank the resonance, then no. AKA Mixmaster says, algorithms are much more than presets or patches, correct? Can you expand on the difference? Yeah. So you have many, what would it be? 128 times 4 presets in the synth. So over 500 presets. And additionally, you have multis. So those are just like the preset sounds. Algorithms are preset configurations of how the oscillators can interact with each other. Algorithm morphing, could you also change the waveform from 4 sine waves? Sure. The only reason I didn't was just because it would be crazy or it could get crazy. Hoover sound from Alpha Juno. Yeah, I mean, just the analog filter alone adds a whole lot of warmth to the thing. Yeah. So what we could do is take LFO2 and then modulate LFO rate. So it's quantized, but we can modulate that. And actually, let's just use it. Let me think about that. Should I use positive only? Maybe we'll try positive and see what happens. But negatively, so it speeds up. let's just slow the rate down a bit. Doesn't seem to be working. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there. The algorithms don't define the movement. They define the relationship, like in an FM synthesizer. Again, the analog filter is it's its own custom design as far as I'm aware, so I don't have a great answer for you on that. But the big thing I would say, having talked to Ken, is just I think the goal would be to just say, like, it really is its own thing, and it does have its own sound. I've owned Prophets, I've owned vintage Moogs. It doesn't really sound like either. But if you define a ladder filter, like if we were to crank a ladder filter, it would lose a lot of resonance. In fact, we could probably do that if we just go and pick a low pass, what is it, the ladder 24, and just increase the cutoff. As we increase the cutoff, you'll hear we still got bass, but it loses some, right? And this analog filter doesn't behave that way. So the digital filter can do Moog stuff, MS-20 stuff, SEM type stuff, for sure. But that's as good of an answer as I can give you. So hopefully that was interesting. Okay, so any other requests? I can do the Alpha Juno pretty simply. So that has one oscillator per voice plus a sub oscillator. So oscillator 1 needs to be a sawtooth wave. Oscillator 2 needs to be a square. Oscillator 3 can be a square down an octave, right? Because it's got a sub oscillator. Oscillator 4 going into algorithm edit, we can turn oscillator 4 no longer as a carrier and use oscillator 4 to modulate voices 1 and 2. So now we're going to put oscillator 4 again into pulse width mod. And as we modulate LFO 1 oscillator 4 initial level, I'm going to do LFO 1 plus oscillator 4. Now we've got pulse width modulation. We just need to crank up the initial level of the 3 oscillators. So that's basically your basis there. That sound, let's increase the rate. Voice mode, let's go into Oscillator Stereo, turn that on. We could also use, like, say, envelope 4 to oscillator 1 here. And let's see here. Can I change this to all oscillator pitch? And then now we have envelope 4. So, you know, the 1, 2, and 3 are routed to the digital filter, analog filter, and VCA, but you could use any of these also. You don't have to use it in the configuration. It's just nice that it's already set up that way. To get that Hoover sound, we then need to go to envelope 4, bring the sustain down. Really what gives the You want that alpha Juno chorus. And then just a shitload of drive. So that's your basic alpha Juno type sound with a really gnarly filter. It usually doesn't have as much resonance. It's just fun. So what else would you guys like to hear? Sorry if I missed anything in the chat. But are there any other types of patches people would like to hear with this? How does it sound in unison mode with a harmonically dense patch? Well, we could go into unison mode. So that's in voice, right? So here's mono. Here's unison. Now, because we have less of that analog feel, everything has that Alexander Meldrum, I see ambient patch there. So Swana Natellis, I saw you about soundtrack. I think I failed you and I didn't load my recreation of soundtrack into this before the stream. I'm so sorry. Damien, so for my next video going up, on the channel is going to be the best pads for Leviasynth, and that'll have all of my pad presets, which I did a bunch. So you'll be able to hear all of my patches in that video. So I'm not trying to not go through my presets, but yeah. Yeah, something with the Vowel filter and something ambient. We can probably do that. Yeah. It's not that digital native dance. No, and I'm not going to. How's it going, Shane, Twin Cities? So by increasing the analog feel, we can break up that sound. Dominator, you know what I mean? Like that's that sound. We can increase the pitch bend too if we want. Okay, so that's that. Let's go to a new sound. I'm not going to bother saving that. Back to a simple sine wave. So why don't we actually do some more complicated FM? So we're going to go directly into algorithm edit. Sorry for the crackle there, guys. And we're going to turn oscillators 2 and 3 off. We're going to route oscillator 2 into 1 and then 3 into 2, right? So this is how we can start building up these more DX70 type sounds. So here's the trick. Synthenon, not once. Unless you count my recreation of the Streets Have No Name U2 sound, which is a factory preset in here. That's more of an organ pad. So when you want to avoid having a cheap sounding FM sound, and I feel bad even saying this type of thing because, you know, we've got Dr. Manny Fernandez in the chat, so he knows much more about FM than I ever will. If I study this for the rest of my life. But in my experience, if you do 2 op pairs, it's more difficult to get really beautiful FM type stuff. It's not impossible, but the problem is we've all heard that sound before. Whereas if you modulate the modulator, that's where you can get some interesting stuff. So let's go to oscillator 2, and we're going to, let's go to the mode here, or I'm sorry, the pitch. And we'll put them all into ratio for now, because we're going to be in FM land to make an evolving vowel-y thing. So by bringing in an envelope level, we get that sound. Let's add some feedback to the modulator. And then let's bring in the envelope level of oscillator 3, which again is not modulating oscillator 1, it's modulating oscillator 2. And then feedback. Digital native dance on the DX7 Mark II decades ago without the editing, the sample loop. That's so beautiful. I actually did a patch in this called Liars, Guns, and Money. And that one is not digital native dance, but it's inspired by it, where you've got different oscillators doing different things. We could check that out right at the end of the stream, maybe. So now we've got a very complex shape. So let's add some, movement to it by... Let's go to release and just copy that release over. Synthonon, it's actually a reference to the show Farscape. And now let's add some envelope movement in here too as well. So this is how we can build up complexity, right? And let's increase the decay time. Now, going into the algorithm edit, custom algo edit, let's turn off oscillator 4 and now have oscillator 4 modulate both of oscillators 2 and 3. And then let's pick a different waveform, something more complicated, something like, if we want to get some crazy sounds, what we can do is get something a little more, yeah, here we go, like one of these hollow waveforms. Let's bring this in now. Oh, it's almost like a, reminds me of like a physical modeling type sound. Now, obviously, that's a lot, right? So we don't need it to do that all the time. It's just kind of nice to have it. Now, Manny, I don't know if you can explain this to me real quick. You actually were kind enough to show this trick to me before. I think I could do that. I think I need to modulate if I want to. So a thing about Leviasynth is feedback here is dependent on the envelope level. So you'll notice that as the envelope level, as the sustain goes down, we stop getting that noise. Right? So there's a way in the mod matrix to get around that and have it behave more like an SY99. Sort of a thing, and I believe the way to do that is to modulate the feedback with the envelope with something. Let's go through here and see if I can figure it out with my brain. Oscillator 4 envelope, and the destination is oscillator 4 feedback. That's what we're looking for. Oscillator 4 feedback. Might just be envelope 1 might work. Let's see. Hey, how's it going, Ken? oscillator envelope to the feedback. Yeah. So oscillator, let's go to oscillator 4. Here, envelope to oscillator 4 feedback. And then just maybe the envelope levels all the way up. Anyways, so the point of all of this is to give our digital filter something to chew on, because I love running like a noisy sound into a digital filter. So if we go select the vowel mode here, it's definitely got that sound. So you've got to we've got to modulate that, or else we're doing that. What is this? It's something. Why would you ever buy an FM hardware synth? Are you stupid? I hope you're kidding, Fisk. That's kind of crazy to say that out loud. I'm going to modulate the cutoff of that. And then what we'll do with LFO positive, actually. There we go. And then we can kind of play with it some more. One thing about the vowel filter is it's very powerful, right? So I did use it on one of my patches, Lineru Calm, to sort of get this breathy type of a thing. Yeah, these are formants right here. Hey, Crystal Love, how's it going? So to make this more ambient, we just need to slow it down. And by using some pre-drive, we can bring some stuff back in. Yeah, so this is a pretty decent, like breathy, almost fluty ambient thing. You're just not going to have all 128 oscillators that you have in a K5000S. But what that would, I mean, that would be insane for this synth. It's not a replacement for the K5000S for sure. Can it do a Moog 1 ambient patch? So what would that be? So anyways, this is a good enough stopping point on the vowel filter. What are some other requests that we have for patches that we could do? I don't know what a Moog 1 ambient patch is, unfortunately. I'm assuming it's just very analog sounding, which we did at the beginning of the stream, so... We could absolutely go into another algorithm here. So oscillator 4 and oscillator 8 can be modulating. Oscillator 4 is modulating 1, 2, and 3. Oscillator 8 is modulating 5, 6, and 7, right? So 4, we could put this into pulse width mode, and 8 could be phase mod. Pitch, we could go, again, all ratios here, right? Let's try doing that same trick with oscillator 4 down 2 octaves or 25%, right? So so let me catch up with the chat here real quick. So now as we bring in the levels here, I'm going to use the envelope levels, I think only for 4 and 5. So I'm going to turn up oscillators 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we're going to simply use that random button and pick different waves for everything. LFO1 plus to oscillator, oscillator 4's initial level. Let's slow it down. I'm going to kill some of the release just for the sake of it not overwhelming my voice. And then we could do LFO2 to oscillator 4. And same thing, LFO2 plus oscillator 8 level, sorry, is what I meant to say. And then let's go to LFO2 and change the shape. Let's go for sample and hold. LFO3 to oscillator 3 pitch. And we're going to just bring that up. I should have set that to a square wave first so I can hear what I'm doing here. And mod matrix LFO3 plus is actually what I'm looking for. In there for sure. I'm sorry. I feel like when I look down, the chat goes crazy. No, I'm not going to touch the sequencer tonight, Shane. I'm so sorry. It's just beyond the scope of this single stream. How can I auto program sounds on it? Seamus, I'm going to have to get back to you on one of the, I do have a bunch of videos on the how to program the Kwai SX240. So that's what I would recommend. Back to envelope A. Let's slow this down. We can control how logarithmic or exponential the attack shape is. So sometimes a more exponential shape can help. effects, of course, as soon as we turn on some delay, you know, we start getting that action, quarter note dot. I feel like for some people, this might already be too in-depth of a stream because it's just hard to like take in everything that Leviasynth can do. So we've got time for probably one more patch if you guys want to shout something out that you'd like to check out. All sorts of things. With the synth this deeper, merely as deep as the Hydra. Sweet spots spread out. More freedom to sound good, but also more freedom to sound. Yeah, I mean... One thing is that you could hear that this synth can get bright because it's got that FM algorithm in there. So, you know, it could start to get really, really powerful in the high end. And this analog filter is a godsend for that, because if you didn't have it, the digital filter could probably help to a certain extent cool it off or heat it up. But I mean, you can just hear the warmth. Assign oscillators to a certain key range. Well, you could definitely use the synth by timbrally. What else is there? Yeah. I don't know. Can I do a key range on an oscillator? Let me see. I don't think so, but I should say I have not learned how to do it yet. It's not something. Ratcheting is in the sequencer, so I'm just not going near that tonight. All right. I do like some VA quite a lot. Sorry, man, it's chat's going fast. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, everyone knows I don't like virtual analog synths. I just don't think they sound great. And this synth can do great virtual analog. I just think it's more fun to use this synth in the more FM-y, algorithm-y way, Prophet VS-y type way, than it is just to create more of that type of virtual analog stuff, because you probably, you know, for the money will enjoy the Hydrosynth more because it's more of a wavetable-y thing, whereas this is going to put you into more of that area. So, I guess if there's no requests, I'll do an FM sound. I have not virused. I need to virus. I'm going to just go into the algorithm edit and custom algo, and I'm going to go turn off oscillators 2 and 3 as carriers, and 5 and 6 and 8. So 2, 3, and then 5 and 6, and then 8 into 7. So now what I've done is I'm only using oscillators 1, 4, and 7 as carriers. Thank you very much, Trader of the Living. I appreciate that. So split patch I could do, but it's not hard, but I don't have it on camera over here. So it just feels like, just trust me, it can be done. If we do a follow-up stream, the multi-button's way over there. We could probably jump in and do that. So I just want to show let's just go into, let's go to the initial level and turn it down. Then we'll go to envelope level and turn it up for everything. Again, save, copy, and paste. Envelope level up 100%. Pitch mode, we're going to put everything into ratio. We might mess with that later. We could use some frequency stuff. Here we go. So, and I'm going to go into the levels and mute everything but oscillator 2. So now let's change the ratio. So kind of like your basic E-piano type sound. A really useful thing for FM type sounds is this velocity to envelope. Let's add some release to all of these. I usually do like 4-ish seconds because, again, it's all gated by the release of the VCA. Let's go into oscillator 1 and add some velocity to that. And look at the shape of this, bring the sustain down. Unmute oscillator 3. So if we change, if we go into the pitch mode here and we take it out of ratio and turn it to frequency, now we can use oscillator 3's frequency as a ring modulator on the... And then if we go into here, where is she? What am I looking for here? We can control the, where am I looking for? Pitch mode, frequency. Yeah, I think so. That should do it. And again, we can add a lot of velocity to envelope, so we're only hearing that on the hardest hits. So we're getting that different. So again, this is what's so brilliant about FM is you can begin to add complexity. So we start with just kind of like your basic E-piano, but if I hit it hard, we get this new kind of texture in there. Let's bring in 4 and bring it up. Actually, we'll bring it down and add some detune. And we have oscillator 5 here already set up. And by adding small amounts of detune, we can actually get some interesting movement. And then again, we just need to, that's a lot. So what we need to do is bring the sustain down and add some decay. This is more of like a bell type thing. But the big trick is to add that velocity to envelope. So. And bring that down. And then let's bring in 4. We're going to turn the key tracking down, and we're going to turn the sustain and decay. And bring the pitch mode of this does not need to be in ratio. It could be just frequency, so we could tune it down. So So now I've created like a little hit to the front end of that. And this too needs to be modulated with a lot of velocity to envelope. And let's add all the feedback in the world. To oscillator 8, which is modulating oscillator 7. So now we have this more. And just a little bit of velocity to envelope there. And really we just got to make sure that we've got plenty. FM needs that velocity to get that sound. So now we have almost like an ethnic-y, belly, kalimba-y type sound, right? Let's go ahead and bring some delay. Envelope 4 to oscillator 4, and we could use envelope 4 plus. Does that work? Okay, envelope 4 to the pitch. And then go to envelope 4, bring the sustain down, add some release. Turn that oscillator 7 down a bit. A little plucky. Let's bring in the chorus. So we're getting into this, very 80s sound. We can dial that back a bit. Here's another thing we can do with voice mode. We can take the panner width and we can, what do we want to go for? Random? Yeah, random. So now the panning is not using stereo mode, so we still have all 16 voices. But what we do have is stereo panning. Now, this is a very good example, too, of where you don't always want to crank the pre-drive, because if we take too much, a little bit's probably going to be good. But if we crank it all the way... Well, of course, this is the time it actually does sound pretty good. We can use a... Key tracking is enabled by default, by the way. Oh, it's the wrong envelope here. So I'm just going to bring in a little bit of that digital filter to bring out some of the low end. Turn key tracking all the way up. That's critical for this type of utility. Just taming that fundamental frequency a bit. Just still a little much even with the velocity all the way up, so I'm just going to turn that down a bit. Just needs more velocity, baby. I love velocity on a FM patch. We could also use velocity to envelope here so it gets warmer as I play darker or play softer. A little bit more here. So it's a lot of just massaging the sound, right? That's kind of what I'm going for. So anyways, that's probably where I should stop the stream for tonight. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'm trying to catch up with the chat. Sorry, it's so engrossing to get locked in on this. So not my best FM keys patch, but again, just trying to get across. Hopefully I got across to somebody somewhere how easy it is to program this particular synthesizer, you know? I think it's, let me see here. Let's jump on in get some music in here. Hopefully. There's gotta be a million Vangelis type stuff things already in here, Rob. Yeah, it's a third wave level hybrid synth. I will say third wave it's very much its own thing, you know? So, oh yes, I forgot to say, I gotta go. So let's go to browse and we could search by sound designer. A really nice thing is that Vulture Culture is a V, so I'm the last sound designer. Someone was talking about TX81Z type sounds. I did that one, the lately bass type sound. Liars, Guns and Money. I've got this Spectra macro, so if we bring this all the way to the right, you can hear all the stuff that's going on. So definitely inspired by the spectral types of things. We can macro that to make it more of a pad. Or we could turn it into more of a pluck, which is interesting. Yeah, so that's just one patch that I did. Oh, I've got to play one for my friend Aquatic Borealis, because I don't think it's been in my video yet. It'll definitely be in my video up tomorrow. But Aquatic Borealis, always one of the longest, if not the longest supporter of the channel, always asks for like really evolving stuff. So here's a very evolving big sound. So I wanted to do a tribute. It's not the first time I've tried to get Aquatic's name into a synth, but it's the first time it's happened. I always do one for dub as well. Let's see. We were talking about... Let's see if there's any other ones that you guys got to hear right now. I don't think so. Roll the hard 6, right? This is the... Absolutely, Robert. It's very similar to a SY99. What I will say is an SY99 can use samples as part of the FM chain, which is crazy and something that isn't possible on this synth because it's not a sample-based instrument like the SY99 is. But where this could do things is like with the wave morphing. Let's see here. Leneru Calm. This is using the Vowel filter after a lot of massaging. Over 500 plus, that's not counting the multis. Of course, this one. Spent a lot of time with my JX8P getting that just right. Dawn Beams, I'm proud of this one. Kind of piano-y. Love a good movement. You definitely need movement in anything FME. Let's see if there's any others that you guys got to hear. I don't think so. Fret breaker. This is my friend Dub Station Zero always says every 80s slap bass patch has too much attack. So I thought, what if I just took that further? Just thick. I definitely have a tendency to go for the warmer stuff, so even for my Reese bassline type sounds. My Name is Ruin's a kind of a cool one, tribute to Gary Newman. So it's very dynamic, so you've got all the way to very quiet. Yeah. Aerolon Depths, this is the one I was talking about before, which is a tribute to Battlestar Galactica. There's just so much of that gorgeous chewy filter there. You know, this type of thing. What else do we have in here? Phandrama Drifts an MS2000 patch. That I love. And then, of course, the this sort of thing. Remake for sure. But anyways, I think that's probably a good enough spot. I just felt like we had to finish it off here real quick. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I'm very, again, just grateful to ASM for letting me be a part of history, because I think that's what Leviasynth is. I think it is a part of history going forward. Just incredible. And just scrolling through here just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Did I? Yeah, those are all empty. Okay, good. Well, Synthanon, you're 0 days sober. I hope you guys found it helpful. It's an experimental synth. I would say the fun of it is the exploration. Towards the end of this stream, I felt like I, didn't do my best work. So keep that in mind too as you judge Leviasynth for those people who are thinking about getting it. Towards the end there, it's not my best sounds I've made. I was too wrapped up maybe in trying to communicate what was going on and not just reacting in the moment to what there was there. But I always say, I hope the sounds inspire you to use the gear you have. Obviously, we're all excited about Leviasynth right now. We all want to see it do well, because the more they sell, the more they're going to be able to support this and add more to it. More firmware updates and things like that. Thank you very much, Manny. Just, again, so awesome to be on the sound design team with you. Incredible patches. I'll be showcasing a lot of your patches in my upcoming videos. Just a really a treat to have been able to do this. So, yeah. It was good. It was good. It was fun. I hope you guys have an excellent week. Continue to be excellent, and I will see you in the next video.